What is going on today, guys? Tomcat here, and today we are back in Spintires, taking a look at the very first International Scout ever to be released in Spintires. Now, this mod is still in development. It's still in the, I would say, probably midway to later stages of development, and the cool thing about this mod is that it was made entirely from scratch. Now, Spun did all of the performance on this vehicle, but as far as like the base modeling goes, this 3D model was actually made entirely from scratch by Spun's friend Corey, and he did a bunch of work on this thing, and it really shows. And not only does it show, but the work has really paid off, because, I mean, look at this thing. It's really clean. Everything on it is done well. Everything on it is done properly. And everything on it is done in a really realistic way. You can see the suspension. You can see pretty much everything that's going on in these. And they're very basic vehicles. But you can see the interior. And then when you go into the interior view, it's actually probably the best interior view I've ever seen in Spintires. You can see the clutch, brake, gas, foot brake, the shifter. I mean, everything is really well done in here. I mean, the only thing that, I mean, really you could improve on from this point is to make working gauges and a moving wheel. I mean, but I'm sure that later on down the road that might, or, yeah, it may or may not be possible. I'm not sure, like, what the limitations of Spintires are, but when you start driving this thing, you almost immediately fall in love with it if you like scout vehicles. Like, I mean, yes, it is an International Scout, but I'm talking about, oh, God. That was my own fault for throwing it into a corner too hard. But if you like exploration vehicles, like vehicles that are made for the purpose of going and exploring a map, going and exploring the wilderness, and discovering any of the hidden areas, or unlocking the cloaking areas, the cloaked areas on the map, this thing you're gonna love it. If you like the UAZ or any of the Jeeps, then this will be literally like one of the best vehicles you've ever driven, pretty much. I've spent a good bit of time just driving this thing around before making this video, and I really like how this thing drives because it's decently quick, it's good at climbing, and it can pretty much kind of almost like it almost just scampers over these rocks. And the thing is, it can keep its speed up going over most rocks, except for when you get stuck on them like that, which in that case you can just winch to the nearest tree. I mean, wherever you want to winch, and you're good to go. I mean, there's winch points on this thing that are... The winch points are very well placed. They're very usefully placed. So you're never going to really run out of winch points. You're going to be like, oh no, I can't winch out because I don't have a proper winch point for it. And it does pretty well with mud, too. I mean, there's no real... there's nothing that's going to get in this thing's way and be like, oh no, I can't go any further. The only thing that's going to really get in your way in this thing is maybe really large rocks or really deep water. Those are the only two things I can think of that might get in the way of this thing. But other than that, this thing is good to go. It's a beast. It's a little beast. It really is. And I can see, again, like I said, this thing being a really good vehicle for scouting a map, especially if you're playing a map that that nobody in your group has played before. Get a couple of guys to get log hauling trucks, and then send a couple of other people out to kind of, you know, check out the map in these scouts, and they will have that map covered in, like, a few minutes. I mean, this thing, it's funny because it's got the speed of a lot of other vehicles in Spintires, but the thing is, since it's one of Spun's vehicles and he did the setup on it, the gearbox is really nice. The gear ratios are really good. If I'm climbing something, I like to keep it in either high or low. If I can get it into high, I'll leave it there. But the thing is, high in this thing isn't all that fast. If you want to go fast, you got to put it in automatic mode. So, I mean, which makes sense, because if you're trying to go fast, you're generally going to be on a really smooth road or some kind of pavement in Spintires. But look at this thing. It just climbs right up it. It just climbs right up the side of the mountain. It's like, I mean, it's like, I got no problem with this. I'm just going to go straight up. I don't know about you, but I'll bring you with me. And it's such a fun vehicle to drive, really. And that's the other thing, too. Some vehicles in Spintires are really effective, but they lack the fun factor. This has not only a lot of fun factor, but a huge cool factor as well, because you never see these. That's the thing. You never see these vehicles, not only in Spintires, but you rarely see them in real life. I mean, there's, I think, maybe one that I've seen where I live. Like, in my whole town, there's maybe one of these things. And, I mean, the one that is here is kind of like midway through a restoration, so it's not really even, you know, out and driving around. So they're not exactly the most common vehicles. Definitely not the most common vehicles to be seen in a game. I think this is really the only game, if maybe one of 2 or 3 games, that ever featured the International Scout. I'll have to check on that. But, I mean, obviously it's not a original game vehicle. It's a mod, but I still consider it featured in the game since the community made it and the community put a lot of work into it. But I really enjoy driving this thing around. And I know I've said that quite a few times already, but it deserves it. It really does. I mean, something this good deserves to be... crap, I almost stalled it out. There, go. Yes, if you can shift fast enough, you'll be fine. But, I mean, if you shift just a little too slow, it's just going to be like... and stall out and die. But, I mean, that goes with any vehicle in Spintires, that you try and jam it into high. You know, especially if you're going really slow. I haven't really tested the water fording too much yet. I can tell that the water level is a little bit on the... I mean, it's okay. I mean, we're almost up to the hood. The hood, for any of Spun's vehicles, generally the hood is going to be a good... or at least, like, the top of the hood is going to be a good area to watch for as far as, like, the danger area for a vehicle getting a little bit too deep in the water. But other than that, I mean, it's... And that's the thing. It keeps it realistic. When you keep it at the top of the hood, unless this thing were to have a snorkel, which it does not, it keeps it really realistic to have your danger level set right there at the top of the hood. So I definitely think that... I think it was placed well, and it feels... It's funny because you don't really... Some of the vehicles in Spintires, you get this kind of, like, almost invincible feeling, like, oh my god, I could go through anything. This thing, you don't quite get the invincibility feeling, but you do... Oh god, we're damaging the truck a little bit. But you do get a feeling of confidence, and it's a different thing, because when you feel invincible in a Spintires vehicle, you're like, I don't care for crap, I'll go through anything. Whereas in this, you care about the vehicle, and you care about the fact that you know it has limits. You know it has limits, and you're not going to try and, you know, go and destroy the thing. But at the same time, you know it can go almost anywhere, but you still have to pay attention to it. And the fact that you have to pay attention to it adds a huge it's almost like a feeling of not I wouldn't say it's not knowing, but it's a feeling of almost like, do I want to go that way? Because there may be consequences. And to make a game fun, you have to have consequences for something. You have to have certain actions have to have certain consequences, right? And I mean, right now, if we don't keep this pace up, if something halts our momentum, we will most likely get stuck here. But that, honestly, that adds a huge fun factor to the game to me. And there are some vehicles where you would just be charging through this mud no problem, whereas in this, I mean, you're going kind of slow, you know, the wheels are spinning a little bit, you feel it get hung up on these sticks occasionally, and there's always that feeling of, you know, like, what do I do if I don't make it through the mud? Like, am I positioned close enough to a group of trees that I'll still be able to get out if I do get stuck? So it's that feeling of realism and that feeling of having to actually pay attention to what you're doing that adds a huge fun factor to this vehicle. Let's see if we can get out of here. Mud's starting to get real deep now. It's almost up to the fender wells. It's almost buried the freaking fender wells. Come on. It's really trying, though. That's the thing. This thing never gives up. It's just like go, 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 go until it flips over. Let's have some interior view. Or not. There we go. Nope. There. It's not really feeling the interior view right now, I guess. So it's like, it's not feeling it. Well, yeah, occasionally it'll go through the roof. Occasionally it'll go through the roof, but it's alright. It's alright. It's just one of those things that just kind of happens in Spintires with that first-person cam. Just because of where it is, certain vehicles don't really like it, and the camera goes up through the roof of the vehicle. Again, it's just something that certain vehicles don't really seem to like. I was considering going around that way, but honestly, let's see if we can make it up this muddy hill. This will be a true test of this thing, because this hill is covered in little tree limbs, and it's steep-ish to have mud on it. But it's powering through. Oh, it's getting it. Dang, dude, this thing goes. That is awesome. It just went. it dug in and went. It went right up that hill, no problem whatsoever. I like coming back here with vehicles because it really, like, this particular road really gives you an opportunity to test how they handle the mud. And this thing handled it so freaking well. It's amazing. I love it. But if you guys enjoyed this test of the International Scout, the very first International Scout in Spintires, then don't forget to leave me a like. Tell me in the comment section down below what you guys thought of it. And if you're new to my channel and want to see more unreleased mods like this one, then don't forget to subscribe for more. And I will see you guys in the next one. Talk to you guys later.